We have 3 beautiful Chardonnays, and I'm going to blind taste you to see if you can pick out each one.
There was this seminal moment when I was home from college. And so I just remember sitting there thinking, wow, I really want to help build this brand.
You're on wine number 3.
Boy, Josh, I better get this right. I was investigating a tank, turned it the wrong way, doused myself and others with red wine and thought, whoops, okay, I've got a lot to learn here.
Was your family also asking you to come back at this time, or how did that relationship go? What's your favorite wine rule to break?
It's a very romantic approach to wine tasting that I think people should do more of. You may have just switched things up on me a little bit because my goodness.
Welcome to the Share the Lohr podcast by J. Lohr Vineyards and Wines, where we take you behind the scenes over a glass of wine. Let's uncork and dive in. Today we're sitting down with Cynthia Lohr, and she is our co-owner and chief brand officer. My name's Josh Baldovino. I'm the marketing manager here, and today we're diving all into Cynthia's story about how she joined the family business and what's transpired over the last 50 years. So, Cynthia, thanks for jumping on the show.
Oh, thank you so much, Josh. It's so much fun to be here in our beautiful room and have this conversation with you on this fall day. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Of course. Well, I'm excited to just dive into the nitty-gritty, and then we're also going to do this with a little twist. So we have 3 beautiful Chardonnays that we produced, and I'm going to blind taste you to see if you can pick out each one and see how well you know the wines.
I'm so excited for that in particular because who doesn't want wine on a Wednesday afternoon, right? So yeah, very excited about that as well.
Okay, so let's just dive into this first wine here.
Oh, awesome. What a great way to start off our interview, Josh.
Yeah, this is wine number 1. I'll give you a taster. And there's a bucket there as well.
Do I have to? Do I have to pour it in the bucket?
Oh,
cheers.
Well, cheers over the mics. So don't tell me which of the Chardonnays you think is
Okay,
We're going to say that for the very, very end.
Okay, perfect.
Although I guess for the viewers, would you already have a hint at what it might be?
I would have a hint.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to reserve judgment until I've tasted through all of them. But I am pretty familiar with our Chardonnay program, and I rarely get to taste the lineup of 3 together. So again, thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, well, this is fun. I'm sure you're going to ace this test. Okay, but just for the viewers who may not know you, Cynthia, so who is Cynthia, and how did you end up back in the family business?
Well, oh my gosh. So who am I? I don't know how to answer that from multiple lenses, but I'll give you my business or my professional lens since I could talk holistically about who I am and maybe it'll come up in conversation. But I have always loved building brands and communicating. And I think if you were to look at what drives me and what motivates me, I like to think of myself as a maximizer. I like to bring about and help others and organizations realize potential. And I like to do so in such a way that nowadays, as I have been a businesswoman for many years, I like to impact what I call the triple bottom line, that being people, planet, and profit, which mirrors our sustainability ethos perfectly. But I didn't always have that focus, and it's come over many, many years of exposure to not just our business, but other businesses and other practices. But I started out being influenced by my father's acumen and interest in business. And you know that he designed custom homes, and he and his building and development partner fell in love with wine and first traveled to Monterey County, Arroyo Seco, put their boots down. And so my earliest memories were jumping in the car on a weekend, driving down to Arroyo Seco with my 2 brothers. I'd sit in the middle between them. Older brother, Steve Lohr, our president and CEO, and then younger brother Lawrence Lohr, president and COO of our vineyards. And my father was very excited to be down there exploring, and my mom was thrilled to have the family time together. So it was just this fun little adventure. Many times where we were in the vineyards, kicking around the dirt. My dad, Jerry Lohr, was asking questions of our soon-to-be vineyard manager, A.B. Hook, and then we'd take a break and we'd go into town and go to La Fogata, which I believe is still there, and we would have quesadillas. And so I just fell in love with, the romance, the idea of my father was building something. He had this passionate idea, and over the years, through the milestones and the decades, just seeing what we've become. Granted, I took a hiatus for a while because I was in school, college and high school and whatnot. But I have a seminal moment, and this might be getting to a next question, but there was this seminal moment when I was home from college. We were all sitting at a diner, and my father was telling us about a milestone that we had just surpassed. It might have been 250,000 cases. It might have been 500,000 cases. But he was talking about how the J. Lohr brand was gaining greater respect and notoriety, and our wines were being so well received, and how much he appreciated working with our colleagues. And I was hearing names on a continual basis. So even before I started working with the winery in the late 80s, I knew these names. And so I just remember sitting there thinking, wow, I really want to help build this brand. I don't know how I'm going to do so, but I really want to help build this brand. So I latched on to the notion of brand building even before I knew really what it was or how to build brand. And I think that's been my guidepost all these years in working with J. Lohr.
Do you remember the first time you ever saw J. Lohr, either at a store or in a restaurant?
Ooh, yes, it would have been at my local Safeway.
Okay.
And it likely would have been Seven Oaks.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, of course, an incredible moment because I believe I was in college at the time, and we were just starting our greater distribution. And it was eye-popping for me, quite frankly. We were in a place of some pretty rapid growth during that time. We were changing labels with regularity, and some of the wines that we started out with, Jade, which was a blend of Riesling and Gewürztraminer from our vineyards in Arroyo Seco, had a beautiful jade-colored label, or the first iconic cypress tree labels associated with our first wines, the California appellated Petite Syrah, or
Right there on the corner.
That's right, you got it. I know, that caught my eye earlier. And to me, those were some of the early memories of the J. Lohr brand, the J. Lohr Gestalt, if you will, was really seizing that iconic cypress tree that is a hallmark of the California Central Coast. And I had so many different kind of imprints. But once Jerry, my father, said, we're in Safeway, we're gaining distribution, I knew that there was no turning back, that this was not a hobby because, mind you, Jerry is really unusual in that he straddled these two businesses for quite some time. They overlapped for a number of years. So he was designing custom homes in Los Altos Hills and in Monterey along 17 Mile Drive, and was very highly attenuated to his clients, but he was also building our wine business. So he's always go, 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 as you know him to be. But seeing that early success helped me realize that this was a business that was going to grow and thrive and flourish for the long term, which is why I'm so honored to be a part of it today.
Did you know then, early on, as a child that you wanted to come back into the family business, or when did that moment shift of?
Yes, great question. So I actually started out in the late 80s after studying psychology and French. So I have a psychology minor and a French major. And why on earth would a woman pursue the wine business with those degrees? And so I was really drawn to, I thought I would go back to school and get my marriage, family, and child counseling license. But decided at the time that my boundaries were not solid and that I really loved, as I said earlier, I'm a maximizer. I love helping individuals and organizations realize their potential. So after a short stint in the late 80s, after graduating UC Davis, I worked both in the tasting room and what we then called the quality control lab. And as I was getting to know our footprint here in San Jose, I was investigating a tank, turned it the wrong way, doused myself and others with red wine, and thought, "Whoops, okay, I've got a lot to learn here." So, yeah, that was kind of a seminal moment. So, I really felt like I wanted to discover what I was made of, who I am as an individual and as a professional. So that's when I started doing everything from PR and marketing for the arts and nonprofits. I actually had a short stint as a business development director for a marketing communications firm in downtown San Jose called PRX, which I believe is still around and just down the street. That led to the burgeoning internet. So we're talking, early 1990. So I helped launch companies by the name of Internet Made Simple, Internet in a Box. It was really an interesting time. And back then, CD-ROM and multimedia was really hot. So I was having fun delving into that. And I had this aha moment where I realized that the internet was the intersection of everything that I loved, entertainment and information and quick access. And I found myself in this incredible place in time, 1995, where I joined an internet PR agency. I was handed Yahoo as my first client, and we hadn't yet launched Yahoo. And we came on a first name basis with the founders, Jerry Yang and David Philo, and just fell in love with technology marketing and quickly wrapped my arms around what it means to build a holistic business based on all the drivers, not just marketing. And that came from reviewing their prospectus before we took them public in 1996. So I was able to get this really 360-degree view of business that had me ferociously interested in how do you build successful businesses from all levels with all departments. So from there, I went back to the client side of things, and I joined Alexa Internet, that we know the Alexa service to be named after now. And we saw them through the acquisition by Amazon.com in 1999, which was incredibly exciting. I held the best launch party ever in celebration, and then went back to the agency side of things, had some interesting broadband clients and neighborhood automation clients and great staff, was part of the executive team. And then I was laid off. It was 2001. It was the time of the bubble, the first internet bubble, I might say. And so I was really at a crossroads because my husband, Sam, had proposed to me in 1999. I hadn't planned our wedding yet. So with this freedom, I decided to plan our wedding finally. I helped throw older brother Steve a 40th birthday party and was applying to business school when I found out that we were pregnant with our younger daughter. I'm blessed to be a stepmom. My older daughter is 29, and Emily, and the younger daughter, Bella, is 21, soon to be 22. But with all of this, I recognized that I had this deeply transferable skill set looking for the right home. So it was the perfect time to come back to J. Lohr and to apply what I had learned from my time in tech. And some of the first assessments I made, bringing fresh eyes to the equation, was we had first generation brochureware as a website. We weren't selling online, so no e-commerce, no internet marketing. So those were some of the first transformations that I made when I came back on board. And given that I had worked in capacity of, I was everything from VP at this international agency to director of corporate communications. So I was able to plug right in. My whole goal was to add value and to complement existing sales and marketing efforts, but to bring us along into this new era of digital transformation, the internet, and ensure that we were keeping pace with our competitive set, given that everyone was trying to figure out, what the internet could do.
I love it. Okay, so I have a follow-up question. Can you pass me the bucket over there? And
don't tell me you're going to dump it, Josh.
We have a little bit of tasting today.
I know. Giving you a hard time.
I know. But we'll go wine 2. Well, let me ask the question first. Okay, and then I'll pour for you.
Okay, great.
During this time, as you were away, getting context and more skill sets, was your family also asking you to come back at this time, or how did that relationship go?
Oh, such a great question. Our parents never put any pressure on us to come, or for me to come back to the family business, because frankly, they knew that I was having so much fun and really flourishing in my roles in technology. And plus, we were just so busy. So remember, at this time, Steve and Jerry were working together in the building and development business and designing custom homes in Los Altos Hills, which Steve was managing, and Jerry would play a role, but Steve was becoming increasingly more engaged with clients so that Jerry could spend more time doing what he does. And we all know that Jerry's a tour de force, whether he's assessing the health of Vineyards or giving back to the industry through his leadership in a variety of organizations, or helping to solve problems, or making capital improvements. He's 24/7. So they weren't asking me, but I felt that because I now had this embodiment of this vast skill set, I knew that I could finally add value, and really wanted to come back and, kind of show my mettle, or just, enhance the business or help solve problems. I think by nature I'm a problem solver, and it's not that we had problems to solve, but I was just so gung-ho about the power of the internet that I just wanted to come back in and share my knowledge and, be a maximizer. So, yes.
Okay. So it was never forced, and it wasn't a...
No, never forced, which was, really, really a blessing. Wine number 2.
Do you have any initial thoughts of differences between, I know there were a few minutes in between wine 1 and wine 2, on the palate or on the nose, anything?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. You may have just switched things up on me a little bit because my goodness. So wine number 1 definitely had the beautiful white floral aromatics that I attribute mostly to our J. Lohr Vineyard Series tier, delicate honeysuckle and orange blossom and more, but with that beautiful Chardonnay fruit. This wine number 2 here has kind of a lot going on. So beautiful, lush tropical fruit flavors, that stone fruit of peach and pear and apple with some citrus. Really nice mouthfeel, great viscosity, super food friendly, never cloying in residual sugar, just beautifully balanced. So I have a hint, but I'm going to reserve judgment until we go through all three.
We still have one more. And again, if you are listening to this on whatever podcast platform, amazing. Thank you. Finish the episode. And then if you actually want to see us taste through this at the same time, you can jump onto YouTube and watch that video. Okay, so we're talking about your family's kind of lean into for you. Now working with Jerry for the past how many decades, what's been the most valuable lesson you've learned from him?
Many, many valuable lessons. I would have to say I really take away from Jerry the desire to dig deeper. And that's not just an analogy for the soils and the vineyards that we nurture, but really to ask questions to seek to understand. So I don't take things at face value. I'm always looking to go deeper to understand whether it's, motivations or metrics or why things are the way they are. So I have a great degree of curiosity, and I think curiosity lends itself well in all aspects of life and love and learning. So I'm just deeply, deeply curious, and I ask the hard questions too. I'm not afraid to put myself in a position where if I know it will be advantageous to the end goal, I will ask the difficult questions, but I will do so in a way that is respectful of a process or individuals, just so that we can all learn and all benefit from whatever there is more to be uncovered.
What's been the secret to working as a family for 50 years? Because not many companies, not many families can do that, but the Lohrs can, and how?
Oh my goodness. I would say it probably has to do with each of us recognizing our strengths and abilities and our desire to contribute. And as Jerry likes to say, the three kids, we all contribute, though with a 120-degree difference to that 360-degree, pie. I think that we're complementary in our skill sets, and that we each have different viewpoints. Like I know from a personality standpoint, I know my brothers very, very well, and I know the unique viewpoints that they bring to any particular situation. And so I've learned to navigate and respect those viewpoints because I always learn, and to be open, just to be very open to what others have to say, and to always find value in other viewpoints. So I think that we're able to work together because we're all committed to the same goal, and that is to create a really healthy business that looks out for our own and looks out for community members and looks out for the trade. So we're very committed, and we allow each other to be who we are. I'm not going to be a civil engineer like my older brother and my father, and that's quite all right. And I really appreciate their empirically focused, data-driven aspect to things, because while I'm not naturally that way, I have become more that way over time, and now I'm really into the stories that data help tell. And I think that we rub off on one another in the best ways possible, whether it's if I'm more emotional, I might share some of that with my father. He might share some more of his empirically driven results fact finding. So we complement one another, I think, very nicely. And we're also just very just respectful and patient.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, obviously your family has done a tremendous job, so cheers to that.
Oh, thank you, Josh. That's so kind of you. Thank you.
So I want to go dive into marketing now.
Mm-hmm.
So how has wine marketing changed over the last few decades? And then I want you to fortune tell for me And then where do you think, or how do you think wine marketing is going to change in the next few decades?
Oh my goodness. Okay, so the perspective that I bring is one of several decades far before the internet and social media and digital took hold. So imagine 25, 30 years ago that your key imprints in terms of influencing which wines you would purchase on premise, which is in restaurants, bars, etc., or off premise, which is at retail or chain stores or what have you, really had to do with relationships and a large part of print ads, billboards, that which could be physically held or touched, if not word of mouth, collateral and point of sale and other physical materials, the classic P's of marketing and all that, public relations and advertising brings to the fore in terms of developing influences. And so things really started to change very, very dramatically in about the 2008-2009 timeframe with social media. And everybody was trying to figure out, oh my gosh, how do we develop a Facebook page and all of this? But I had the blessing of many years ago, one of my clients was Organic Online, and Organic Online helped businesses in the mid-90s, such as Starbucks and McDonald's, develop their first web presence. So that gave me tremendous, tremendous insight into what it meant to be able to build a brand online, the importance of all of those touch points. And then when social media came about, understanding, okay, this is a natural extension of this initial digital footprint, and we have to be prepared for it. So what I have seen most dramatically occur in this time frame is how individuals, how the customer journey has changed dramatically. So oftentimes it could be that initial exposure to a wine. Let's say it starts off at retail. We're now going to QR codes to get an immediate impression beyond finding a beautiful label at Safeway, for instance, and learning about the story. It might be coming in through AI or augmented reality. And so we're developing completely different impressions about a wine, about its origins, about a story as a result of this enhanced media experience. So imagine going from just a 2D view to 3D and beyond, and just how that opens up how we engage with a brand or how we engage with wine. Now, so many more of our senses are stimulated from what we're able to take in through digital. So it's not only peer reviews and how those are now coming from the community we build online, but it's all of the various impressions that create this dynamic experience that is just not relegated to tactile, to taste, to smell. It's the music that's associated with, when you enter, into a website or, view AR. It's the consumer experiences and the activations. It's the plethora of, stimuli that now speak to us, and it's our responsibility to weed out that which speaks most to us in our customer journey. I also think there's, far more competition now in terms of wine brands, and there's a lot more, for good or for ill. I'll just call it, it's creativity, but some of it can be gimmicky. So let's, go back to the original intent of wine, right? And that is to, share, a beautiful artistic product that comes from the land, that comes from the earth, that is meant to enhance your interactions with people, enhance your table, enhance your food. And now we're looking at contests, and there's a role that those play. We at J. Lohr do a tremendous number of contests, and it's to really seek out and engage the consumer in a meaningful and personal way. And we do beautiful job with that when the success has shown up for us many times over, right, in terms of building our consumer base. So it's just a very competitive climate with so many touch points along the consumer journey driving how we come to that ultimate decision to choose J. Lohr over another wine.
Totally. I think today there are so many different ways to test, to reach the consumer. There's so many different consumer segments now.
Yes.
And you can't do them all.
Right.
And at the core value, wine is it's a simple product that creates probably some of the best memories you can have.
Yes, absolutely.
Which is ultimately what kind of the goal of the product is.
Absolutely. And so that's kind of my my North Star is, it's all about the beauty of the wine and how it makes consumers feel. And it always comes back to the wine. And to your point, we are a 50-year-old company. Part of the reason that we expound on family, place, and craft as our 3 key messages, our messaging pillars, if you will, is that in family, it's the extended family who have helped champion J. Lohr over all these years, from consumers to our employees to gatekeepers to the trade. We want to continue to welcome them into the J. Lohr extended family, yet not overlook the unique factors that influence the younger demographics nowadays. And thanks to you and the team, we're doing a great job of creating really meaningful interaction with that younger demographic. It's really an exciting time. I think we're always learning, but it's just a really, really exciting time.
Well, thank you. And I'm happy to be on the team. I do want to move into wine 3.
Okay.
So let's...
All right, let's do it.
Last taster for you. So we are on wine number 3.
Boy, Josh, I better get this right.
You know what? And if you're wrong, that's okay. I know what's hard about this test is obviously we don't have them all 3 in a row. And we've now been tasting, and you have to remember your tasting notes from 30 minutes ago. So if you want to retaste anything, let me know. Thoughts on wine number 3?
Wine number 3, to me, has that classic Burgundian profile. Minerality, beautiful crisp acidity, malolactic that complements the fruit and doesn't overshadow it. A little bit of oak treatment, but not anything to present as cloying in any way. It's just really, really beautiful. Very classic. I feel like I could be sipping this in France. Just really, really delicious.
Now, we could reveal them one at a time. Do you have one that you know for sure that you want to start off with? Would you like to retaste anything?
I think I got this.
Okay.
Okay, are we ready?
All right. If you are, sure. Want to go 1, 2, 3 then?
Yeah. Let's go 1. Okay, I believe that wine number 1 is J. Lohr October Night Chardonnay.
Oh, you got it.
Whew. Okay. All right. Great.
Okay. Wine number 2 then.
I believe, based on flavor profile from wine number 2 to wine number 3, that wine number 2 is going to be J. Lohr Estates Riverstone Chardonnay.
I think by the bang. All
Oh,
right, 2 for 2,
terrific.
which means that you have to be 3 for 3, which wine 3 would be.
Wine number 3, I could tell from that classic Burgundian style, J. Lohr Arroyo Vista Chardonnay.
All right. Well done. Well, cheers.
Thank you, Josh. Well,
3 for 3. So if you want to recreate this for yourself at home, let us know in the comments if you do. And if you get them all right, that would be fun. How often do you do blind tastings, by the way?
Not enough, Josh. Blind tastings are so much fun, and there's so much to be learned because you're not influenced by a brand reputation. You're not influenced by the package. And so I don't do it enough. And because of our time together today, I'm going to do it more often because it really forces you to focus on the attributes, the sensory attributes of a wine and why you love a wine. Aromas, flavor profiles, viscosity, your imagination and how you might choose to pair these wines with food. So it's a very romantic approach to wine tasting that I think people should do more of. I would do that. And I always love to blind taste because I love to see people's reactions, particularly if I know behind the scenes what I'm pouring and how the wines will fare. And there are many, many ways to go about it. You can do as we've done today with, a varietal set. You can do it appellation and varietal. You can do it price point and varietal. I think in order to get the most out of it sometimes, or you can just go completely crazy and do, guess the varietal, right? A while back, I was trying to study for my W set, and this was during pandemic time. And so they shipped, I was going for my W set 3, and they shipped some wine to my house for the blind tasting, and that was incredibly, incredibly instrumental. So I know that you folks all know because of your pursuits that you learn so much from blind tasting, and I wish we would do more of it because it's really fun and you learn so much.
Yeah, I used to do a lot more when I first joined J. Lohr, and I would do it with some friends, and we'd each bring a bottle. And or I think at a certain point, I just said, hey, Venmo me some money, and I'll just pick the bottles. And I would do it on a area and a varietal and then a price point just to see on a specific wine or at least wine profile, does price point actually matter or who's overpriced?
Yes, I was going to suggest that you have to dial in at least 2 of the parameters in order to create, apples to apples. But I love that you went for 3. And with October coming up and Come Over October, that to me is the perfect theme for bringing friends together is to do, you could even do like a Halloween time frame, Come Over October, blind tasting. For me, I would probably choose Zinfandels from a particular appellation with a wide price point because, I don't know, something about Zinfandel feels like it's often associated with Halloween as we advance toward, the holidays and because you can have those crickety old vine zins that look like that. It just creates for a nice kind of, I don't know, thematic, but you've just given me a great idea.
Okay, fine. Well, I have some last personal questions to get to know you a little bit more.
Yes, awesome.
We're on the topic of bringing wine over. So I know it's like picking children, but if you were to bring wine over for a dinner party, which J. Lohr wine are you bringing?
Oh, goodness.
And if it helps, you can pick a white and a red.
That does help. Thank you, Josh, because I do not have a favorite child. So people who know me that I go through various love affairs with our wines, and my probably most enduring love affair is with J. Lohr Tower Road Petit Syrah.
Okay.
And I say that because that is the wine that when I bring over, it always is a surprise to people because they may not have come across our J. Lohr Petit Syrah. And so it's eye-opening to them how delicious, how unctuous, how soft it is, how food-friendly it is, how juicy, and it pairs beautifully with food as well. So I have an ongoing proclivity toward J. Lohr Tower Road Petit Syrah, and I never don't make a fan when I introduce that wine. So that's the wine that I'm going to bring to a dinner party, the red wine that is. And then from a white wine, oh my goodness. My current love affair is J. Lohr F&G Vineyard Pinot Blanc.
Oh.
And while that is not a broad market available, it is available from our wine centers and direct or winery exclusive. And Pinot Blanc is one of those varietals that people don't come across very often. It has these layers of aromatics with this really gentle acidity that makes it completely unexpected. So it is a white wine that when you first taste it, if you're tasting it blind, you're not going to be able to know what it is unless you have had great exposure to Pinot Blanc. But it's so delicious that you might think it's in the Sauvignon Blanc family, or you might think it's in the Viognier family, if you know white wines at all. But it's very pleasing, very food-friendly, extremely delicious, and very memorable for that matter, because it's going to be unlike anything you've had before. So it feels really special. And the package is beautiful, and it has a great story from our Francione and Griva vineyards. And it's unusual. So that's the white wine I would bring.
I like the approach that you took. I think it's very easy to go the common Chardonnay, Cabernet route of, great, that's what I'm bringing, but you take the opportunity to almost make it an education standpoint and have new exposure to a different varietal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's what wine is about, right?
Yeah.
Karen McNeil talks about the notion of discovery, and that which we can feel like is our own aha moment when we come across a wine that we may not have heard of before or tasted, but that we just fall in love with. So I love that notion of discovery.
Okay, and then last get to know you question before a quick overrated, underrated.
Great.
What's your favorite wine rule to break?
Ooh. Honestly, my favorite wine rule to break is I believe that wine can be consumed at any time of the day. So, morning time, before brunch.
Oh, before.
Kick off your morning well. I'm an early riser, so if I have had my 2 or 3 cups of coffee, yet I'm preparing a brunch for friends, and it's coming up on 11 o'clock, why not kick off with a splash of Riesling? Or I also happen to be a late night drinker. Remember my Friday nights where I kick everybody out and say this is my time to watch my favorite shows. I may be drinking my Zinfandel or my Petite Syrah at midnight. So wine is meant to be enjoyed, Josh.
Yeah.
You know this, right? And that's why we do what we do. So that's my favorite rule to break. Because you should always, and I'm a responsible drinker, but you should always let the mood dictate which wine and when, and not be shy about it. Just so long as you're consuming responsibly.
I love it. That's fun. Okay, so quick overrated, underrated. So you can either answer it and just say overrated, underrated. If you want to say properly rated in the middle, that's okay too. And then I'll leave it up to you if you also want to give a quick one-sentence answer. But if you just wanted to say overrated, underrated, that's okay.
Okay, awesome.
All right, so first one is decanting.
Overrated.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. Overrated. Simply because, can I offer an explanation?
Please? Yeah.
Okay, simply because I think there's merit to decanting, but not so much that I don't want it to dissuade folks from feeling like they can't just go in and enjoy a bottle of wine. There's so much mystique around decanting that sometimes people ask if a wine should be decanted, and there's no reason to decant. So a little overrated, but then we know that the ingress of aeration certainly brings about good things whenever you're pouring wine. So, but I would say overrated. Just get out there and enjoy that beautiful historic bottle of wine, and you may open it up and determine that it needs to be decanted after you open it up.
Yeah, and then obviously in the spirit of blind tasting, if you have the ability to decant some and try some right away,
yes,
then
absolutely.
You should.
Well, there we go. That's what I would absolutely recommend, right? How are you going to get to know wine better than if you you've got to approach it from all angles?
Yeah. Okay, and the next one is wine pairing.
An individual wine pairing?
Let's go food and wine pairings. How about that?
Okay. Underrated.
Okay.
Underrated because while wine can be enjoyed on its own, um, pairings are an incredible way to get to know wines better, and also to get to know food better and to ignite your palate in some new taste sensations. That's what I find. And a pairing doesn't have to be accurate in order for you to learn something.
Okay.
So it's in the spirit of discovery and experimentation that I advocate for wine pairings.
Okay. Next one will be sub-AVA specific wines.
Ooh, great question. Those are underrated
Okay.
because the sub-AVAs have a story to tell that is unique to the growing conditions and the climatic conditions of that particular region, and the nuances that come from growing in different soils and different growing degree days dramatically impacts flavors. So given that J. Lohr grows in 5 distinct sub-AVAs of Paso Robles, we wouldn't do so if we didn't think that there were merits to all the unique flavors that these sub-AVAs bring. So it is probably one of our more powerful storytelling components, and I love learning about the sub-AVAs. I love discussing how the sub-AVAs play out in our portfolio, and certainly from the standpoint of J. Lohr as a Cabernet and Chardonnay house predominantly, the fact that we are able to craft so many distinct Cabernets as a result of where we grow in Paso Robles is an unrivaled story.
Okay, so we're getting. That means you're encouraging people to get geeky on
Get
the
geeky.
AVAs.
Absolutely get geeky, because it's going to be one of the more interesting explorations in someone's wine journey, if that appeals to you.
Last two, kind of off the wall.
Okay, awesome.
Wine cocktails.
Oh, yes. Yes to wine cocktails. And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Yes to wine cocktails, because hearkening back to why we craft wine in the first place, it's the beauty of what the land brings us. Wine is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to be savored and shared with friends. We are now in an era where there's so much experimentation with flavor profiles, with alternate alcohol and non-alcohol beverages, that there's a really fertile playground for developing flavor profiles. And I have seen some absolutely stunning wine cocktails come from you and the marketing team. I have seen some delicious wine cocktails placed in our national accounts program using, for instance, our Bay Mist White Riesling. I think that the more playful we can get in these explorations, the better off everyone is toward the continued enjoyment of wine and understanding wine's role not just as a beverage to enjoy in more, serious occasions, but in more lighthearted occasions or more, spontaneous occasions. So that's an adamant yes for wine cocktails. I believe that they are underrated and that everybody should be experimenting with wine cocktails.
I love it. I think that the net of the conversation for me today is enjoy the wine how you want to enjoy it with who you want to enjoy it with, and that's all that matters.
Precisely.
I love it. Well, Cynthia, thanks for letting us get to know you a little bit more today. Are there any final words that you'd like to give to our J. Lohr audience?
Oh, thank you, Josh. Thank you for the opportunity. I always find great pleasure in speaking with you and other team members, other members of our industry. We all have so many rich perspectives to share, and I wish I could turn the tables, and maybe we'll at some point and do the same on you. My parting words are have fun with wine. Wine really is meant to be enjoyed. It's meant to bring people together, and you know what your palate likes. Don't let wine magazines or others influence what you are drawn to, regardless of varietal, regardless of price point, regardless of where it is grown. This is the great galvanizing property of wine to be able to lift your mood, to punctuate an event, and don't be shy, and just have fun with wine, and have fun with J. Lohr wines in particular, since we craft so many distinct ones that are certified California sustainable.
I love it. And if you would like to discover any of the wines that we blind tasted today that you perfectly aced the test,
Oh, thank you, Josh. Thank goodness.
I will leave all of the links to these wines down in the description below. And then, of course, wherever you are enjoying this, whether it be on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, please subscribe or follow along. And then if you'd like to see me taste a vertical of Cabernet with our winemakers, I'll leave that video linked down below, or you can click somewhere here. Thanks, Cynthia.
Beautiful. Thank you, Josh. Cheers.
Cheers.